What's up, guys? It's Garage Goons, episode 16. It's going to be a shorter video. So basically, UFC 272 happened. Hopefully, you guys saw that. There's a lot of great fights there, but I'm going to focus on, obviously, the main event. Jorge Masvidal, Colby Covington. You couldn't really draw up a better scenario. Everybody loves fights. And everyone loves fights where the guys truly don't like each other. That's the best type of fight, because when emotions get involved, people, fans and people really tend to take sides and get passionate about, it happens in politics, it happens in, sports. But when it happens in fights, something special really happens. Those are the ones that people remember. People remember Chuck Liddell, Tito Ortiz. People remember Rashad versus Rampage. People remember are going to remember this one, Colby Covington versus Jorge Masvidal. And I think it was perfect, but also it was a little bit short-sighted. Now, hear me out. If Jorge Masvidal wins, great. You get to set up another rematch. You can make the argument, okay, Jorge beat guy that gave, Kamaru Usman all he could handle. And a lot of people think that Colby won their last fight, but he didn't. The judges didn't see it that way. It was a very close fight. I personally thought Colby got the last 3 rounds, but it could have gone either way. I never subscribed to be the champ. You got to beat the champ. I think a fight is a fight is a fight. And if there's judges involved, it's just whoever gets scored better wins. And, the guys who understood that typically win fights. Right. But this one was so great. And the hype was so built up. It was really magical. There was a mysticism about it. There was the classic heel. Nobody likes Colby Covington. The guy stutters. He can't string a sentence together without saying something about Trump or nerds and virgins or, hey, what's up, losers? He's always, his fan base are people he openly insults. He's clearly not trying to win over the quintessential fan. He is going the Floyd Mayweather route, which in my opinion, they will own. It's better. It's better. Bar none, it's better. More so than wanting to see somebody because you love them, you want to see them win. People are more willing in today's climate. Unfortunately, this is how, look at Twitter, what a cesspool that is. People feed and love, and things get, there's algorithms on Facebook and Instagram. If you put some wild negative shit out there, it's going to get more clicks. It's going to get more shares. It's going to get more likes. It's going to get more comments. It's going to get more interaction. Going to get more retweets, all of that. And Colby took that position. If you're the hated guy, views are views are views. It doesn't matter why the person is viewing it. You're buying the pay-per-view to see this guy lose. Well, you're still buying the pay-per-view, which in turn helped out George because, as we know, Colby got none of the pay-per-view percentages. Only Jorge benefited from that. But I digress. It was short-sighted, guys, because you're hedging all of your bets on George. If George doesn't win this fight, and you should have known he was going to lose. Okay, stylistically, who are the guys that George has been dominated by? Okay, wrestlers. There might not be a better guy at scrapping it out in the entire UFC. And I don't mean technical striking, from an Anderson Silva, Izzy type striking. I mean scrapping it out. I don't think there's a better scrapper in all of the UFC than Jorge Masvidal. I mean, he is a fearless striker. He's willing to run full speed 100 miles an hour at Ben Askren and throw a flying knee, knowing damn well if it misses, he's going to get put on his ass and probably submitted or at least held down, and then he just threw the round away. Okay? And how do you beat a wrestler? You knock them out in the fastest time in UFC history. Okay, great. Well, Colby's too good for that. Colby's not a one-sided fighter, a one-dimensional fighter the way Ben Askren was. Their wrestling is probably in the MMA world comparable. I would say, Askren is a better pure wrestler, but who cares about pure wrestling? How's your MMA wrestling? Okay. We've seen guys with Olympic medals in wrestling lose to guys like, George St. Pierre, or, we've seen Daniel Cormier get out muscled by Stipe Miocic. Okay. So what am I trying to say here? Colby winning puts the whole division in this weird purgatory. Because right now, we have the next fight. We have Leon Edwards versus Kamaru Usman. We have the next big belt fight. But after that, who gets the shot? By the math, by the talent, by the resume, it's Colby. It should be Colby, but we're not. The UFC hates making trilogy fights. In the history of the UFC, you've seen very few of them. And I don't know if we've ever seen a trilogy fight where the first two fights started off with the same guy losing both times. We've seen them when, one guy wins and then the other guy wins. Robbie Lawler versus Johnny Hendricks comes to mind. What else? Was it did DC and Stipe fight 3 times? I can't remember. But there's been a few trilogy fights, not many. I want to say the one I can think of that I'm pretty sure they fought 3 times was Ken Shamrock versus Tito Ortiz, where Tito beat his ass every single time. Now, that was a very different era. You had Tito Ortiz was the biggest. Him and Chuck Liddell were the 2 biggest stars in the UFC. And Ken Shamrock was big because he was big in Japan from Pride. And also he messed around in WWF at the time. That was even before it was WWE. This is how far back we're going here. It sucks for Colby because he's not a big 170-pound guy. He looks like that's his division. Kamaru looks like he has the frame to be able to move up. He looks like he cuts a lot of weight. Colby, to me, looks like he's the perfect guy for 170. I'm sure he probably walks around between like 180 and 190, which is the perfect weight for 170. You want to cut at that weight around 10 to 15 pounds. I mean, ideally, you want to cut no weight and just be that good. But, conventional wisdom says you cut a little weight so you can at least be, the bigger, stronger guy. You don't want to cut too much. But he just looks like the perfect build for that division. The problem is Kamaru Usman's just so damn good. I think he's officially now, at this point, I'm saying it out loud, he's past GSP. I know we had a video about this where it was a conversation. He's past GSP to me, in my mind, for the greatest welterweight of all time. The level of competition has risen. The guys he's fought are still great. Like, after USADA left, Jake Shields and, Johnny Hendricks and a lot of the guys that GSP beat later on in his career didn't quite have look the same. Thiago Alves didn't quite look the same. These guys still look like monsters. Gilbert Burns still looks like a monster. Colby Covington still looks like a monster. Okay? Jorge Masvidal, he's on a losing streak here. Well, yeah, right? Or, yeah, he's on a losing streak. But, you fight the champ and then you fight the guy that's like maybe arguably like the second or third best welterweight ever and unfortunately might never get a belt. I mean, Colby did get an interim belt, but like the legitimate undisputed belt, Colby might never get that. And that's not a knock to Colby. That is a major praise to Kamaru Usman. Usman is that phenomenal, guys. He has no holes. And by the way, if he did have a hole, it would have been considered in his striking, and his striking has improved. So you had like a 1 or 2 year window after he first became champion, Kamaru Usman, to try to dethrone him. Now it's too late, guys. It's too late. He's too good. He's LeBron in his prime. You're just going to have to wait for him to age out or move out of the division. I mean, seriously, it's that crazy. It's like a Demetrius Johnson type scenario, man, where you just can't get this guy out of here. Okay. UFC clearly likes him a lot more than Demetrius Johnson too, but it's another story. Colby wins, as predicted. It was a great matchup for the hype, for the pay-per-views, for everything the UFC cares about numbers-wise. But as for the division going forward, now what do you do with Colby? Burns and Chimaev, they inked a deal. Colby keeps calling out Dustin Poirier, who, has fought a couple times at 170, but he's not a 170 pounder. I mean, Dustin Poirier was able to make 145 not so long ago, and he's a big 155er, but he's not the biggest I've ever seen. He doesn't look like a Benson Henderson big type guy. He's not huge like that. So what do you do now? What do you do with Colby Covington and the 170-pound weight class? It's tough, man, because Bilal Muhammad has made it clear he wants to fight the belt. I don't think Bilal says, I'm going to duck Colby outright, but I think it would be a bad business move for Bilal Muhammad, who's the only guy I can come up with right now. Oh, actually, is he fight Luque? I don't know. Luque, Bilal, all these guys could fight Colby. Those are the two guys. Bilal and Luque could fight Colby Covington. The problem is you have this thing with Colby now where Colby is a legitimate bona fide star. He sounds like a moron when he talks, but it's funny as hell. He's very witty. He sometimes stumbles over his words, which somehow makes him more hateable or likable just on how you look at it. I don't take what he says seriously ever. So to me, he's just a comedian up there pissing people off that do take him seriously, which makes me like him. I'm not even going to get into the political side of it because I don't care about that. I don't want to hear political views from fighters anyways. Like, bro, you get punched in the face for a living. Like, I don't need to know where you stand politically, But, man, he is just a lightning rod right now. And I feel like you can kind of stifle this flame if he's not fighting for a belt or fighting a character. And I understand that is why strategically he's going hard after Dustin Poirier. He is throwing everything, including the kitchen sink, at Dustin, talking about his wife, DM'd Conor McGregor. It was probably some trash talk, but all we know is that she DM'd him, right? It was, he's talking about how he's a deadbeat dad to his kids, and he's a shitty person and a liar, and his wife is a whore and all this crazy stuff. Normally, this would be the exact type of thing that gets guys to be like, you know what, fuck this guy, I'm gonna fight him. I think Dustin knows what that taking that fight is, and Dustin is a legitimate champion level fighter. I mean, Oliveira, outside of maybe a questionable glove grab and stuff like that, looked like he might have been losing that fight. And I don't know that if they do run it back ever, that Oliveira beats him again. I think Dustin wins the second time around. But, we'll see. There's like so many guys at 155. It's ridiculous. You got Gaethje, you got Chandler, you got Charles Oliveira, you got Conor coming back, you got Dustin Poirier, you got all these young, hungry dudes coming up, Sandman, all these crazy good fighters. And, and I think Max Holloway, he's struggled with weight cuts in the past. I don't know that he stays at 145 forever. I think he maybe gets the belt back one last time. And then I think he might, I don't know. I just feel like that weight cut is not great for Max. I think he looked great at 155. And to be fair, when he fought Dustin Poirier, a champion level 155 bona fide fighter, he held his own, man. He every punch he took looked like it was nasty, but he took every one of those punches and was not finished and was piecing. To be fair, he gave it back as hard as he could. He just can't hit that hard at not at the level of a Dustin Poirier, who obviously hits like a truck, right? Put Conor McGregor on his ass, right? So, I don't know what you do with Colby. I think You have to tell him to sit and wait. You have to tell him, listen, we're going to have Bilal Muhammad and Vicente Luque each other. And hopefully either they get a highlight reel knockout and they get hyped that way, because both of those guys don't get on the mic and talk shit. It sucks, man. You would just need a guy in the top 10 that knows how to sell a pay-per-view for Colby to be interested, because at this time he's not 1 or 2 fights away from a championship. We don't even know if he's ever going to get it again because he lost twice, even though he is clearly, to me, it's not really, it's 1, 2, and then everyone else is a step below that. Hopefully, maybe I'll be proven wrong with Leon Edwards. I don't think Leon's got the chin to be in there with Kamaru Usman. I think Kamaru Usman has too many ways to win that fight. I think he can win it on the ground. I think he could press him up against the cage. I think he can bully him. I think he could not necessarily outbox him in the classical sense, but I think he hits so much harder, and he's so clean and fundamental with his boxing that, even if he gets pieced up a little bit, I think the one shot he gives Leon Edwards will nullify anything Leon's coming with combo wise. I don't know, man. I don't know what you do now. Colby's in 170-pound purgatory. Unless you're able to reach over there and in Bellator and get a guy to come over that talks shit and has a good highlight reel tape that we could try to get people to drink the Kool-Aid on that, and then get Colby to go after that guy. I don't know what you do with him now. I don't know what you do with him. The only thing that would have made sense is if you had Colby fighting Masvidal for the BMF belt. Because if you fight for the BMF belt and Colby wins it, now he's in a position to where he feels like, I got this from this fight. Besides more clout, besides more fame, besides more people wanting to see him fight next. Now he gets to sit back like a champion because he has something to lose now, where other guys would want to come to him and know what comes with the BMF belt. To be in the BMF belt, you gotta sell it. You gotta have the press conference. You gotta go crazy with it. You gotta talk shit. You gotta do all that. I almost feel like Colby would have benefited in some ways from losing this fight, as crazy as that sounds. Because now, you shake up the division, it looks a little bit more interesting, and now Jorge is right in the mix for another title fight. And he's lost twice, but he's one of the guys that has enough cachet to where I feel like they might do a third fight, even though he lost twice to Usman. Colby, I don't think gets that for some reason, even though Colby's just as famous at this point, in my opinion. Maybe Jorge's still bigger. I don't know. But Colby to me is right there. He was all-star level going into this fight. If he wasn't all-star before, he's definitely all-star now. And I'd go as far to say superstar. I think at the top of fame, infamy, however you want to say it, it's still Conor McGregor. Right below that, you have Nate Diaz. Right below that, Colby and Jorge Masvidal are right there in that discussion, man. They talk the talk, they walk the walk, they sell tickets. Dustin Poirier is probably in the mix as far as being a star as well. It's tough, man. It's tough to know what you do with the guy because he's so damn good and nobody wants to fight him because everyone says, well, fuck that. Why would I take that fight? And if I'm good enough to fight Colby, I should just get a title shot. And Colby's already had his turn, so he can sit back and wait. Well, what do you do with them? The UFC doesn't like to let their superstars sit down. The only guys they allow to do that is Nate Diaz, and that's because he has such a diehard weirdo fan base from multiple organizations, from all the shit talk, from all the online content he's provided from Tough, all that stuff over the years. But I don't think Colby is a guy you let sit too long. You got to get him a fight. And maybe it's a dud. Maybe he has to do a fight. People are just less interested. But it's so hard sometimes when when you're riding that high and you're hot, you got to strike while the iron is hot. And so who's the guy to strike that? I don't know. I think you could have had that with Kazmat, but I don't think that's going to happen now because Kazmat is going to definitely call for a title shot if he beats God, who do they just line him up with? Bilal Muhammad, right? No. Gilbert Burns. If he beats Gilbert Burns, I mean, he's going to call for the title shot. He's not going to call out Colby Covington. But who knows? Maybe he gets a quick first-round knockout of Burns, which I don't know because Burns is a tough SOB. But if he does that and he knows that Kamaru is going to be fighting Leon and he wants to get one last one in, maybe he calls out Colby. And if he beats Colby, that would just be crazy. But if he loses, you're also in this purgatory again where what do you do with Colby now? Seems like all you can do is title shot, right? But then you're putting a guy in there that's already fought Kamaru Usman twice in a calendar year and lost both times. It's tough, man. It's kind of like Robert Whittaker at 185. It's almost exactly the same thing, except for Colby is way more, I think people are fine to let Robert walk away, or take some time off or whatever. I don't think people want to see Colby sit on the sidelines. They need to sign somebody from Bellator. They need to get somebody. Hey, go and sign Michael Venom Page. That would be hilarious. Get Michael Venom Page, sign him to the damn UFC, get him to fight at 170, and fight Colby. There you go. That's the answer. That's all I got, man. All right, guys. Garage Goons, the most trash show on YouTube. If you watched all the way to the end, thank you so much. Stay tuned, man. Got pro fighters coming through. Hopefully pro football players. Listen, I keep making these promises, man. These a lot of these guys that I asked to come through, they're yeah, on the phone, and then it's radio silence. I don't hear from them. I try calling. People are busy. People don't pick up. But we are going to make this thing happen one way or another. But yeah, man. Like, comment, subscribe. Tell me how trash I am. And I'll comment back and defend myself or maybe just agree with you. I don't know. We'll see. All right, guys. I guess peace out. That's all I got for y'all. And the damn stream. This computer